I've been doing archival research on the history of feminist media for many years, and there's this interesting era between the late 70s and the early 90s when it seemed every region in Canada had one or more women's media collective stalking the streets with Sony portapacks, documenting demonstrations, often the only people present with cameras, because this was before the digital era, besides standard media, and presenting their work on cable TV, in art galleries, and in community settings. But there is one group that really stands out, and that's Arnait Video Productions, a Nunavut-based collective that has been producing video and film since 1991 with storytelling practices meant to sustain a community and challenge masculinist notions of the North. They are the only Arctic Indigenous women's filmmaking collective in the world. Scott McKenzie and Anna Westerhouse Stenpart wrote in Camera Obscura, quote, by insisting on the centrality of its productions to Canadian culture, pointing to the lack of Indigenous historical representation, Arnait questions default assumptions about the Constitution of Canada itself and its northward colonial expansion. While most of the other collectives I researched folded after 2 or 4 or 5 years, Arnait has produced over 20 works, including fiction, features, documentary features, 2 television series, short-length documentaries, and 2 animated films. They've won multiple awards, including Canadian Screen Award for Best Documentary in 2016 for the film you're going to see tonight, Soul. I've been wondering for so many years, how did they do it? What sustains them? So we'll have a conversation with some of the members, one here, one in Montreal, and one in Igloolik, via the wonders of Skype after the film. But first, it's my great pleasure to introduce Blandina Makkik, who is the newest member of Arnait, and luckily for us, based here in Toronto. Blandina was born and raised in Igloolik. From 1985 to 1991, she was the senior producer for Inuit Broadcasting and developed the first children's television programming available in Inuktitut language. She's also served as a land claims implementation advisor for Nunavut and as advisor for the Department of Foreign Affairs, thank you, and International Trade. She's currently director of the Inuit and Native Art Gallery at Craft Ontario's shop in Toronto. She's going to say a few words about Arnait and introduce tonight's film, after which we'll have time for Q&A with the film's directors, Marie-Helene Cousineau and Susan Avingaq. So please welcome Blandina Makkik.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. Just a quick correction. I'm not with Craft Ontario anymore. I've been associated with Arnait Video off and on since their inception. Arnait Video really began as a way for as in her own words, Marie-Helene to fit into the community. She was from Montreal, 30-year-old filmmaker, and a way to connect to the community. And when she was there, she noticed a lot of the social networking was divided into male and female roles. And one group she noticed was that the sewing group would meet together, a bunch of women. And she thought, well, let me see what's going on here. So she joined the sewing group, and through this, she connected with some of the women there, and over time, brought up the issue of a video collective in Igloolik with the woman that she was sewing first with, etc. So to make a long story short, she was joined by Susan Avingaq, whom you will be speaking with later, Madeleine Ivalu, who was the lead character in Atanabjoat, if you've watched that film, Before Tomorrow. And there were a number of other women along. Carol Kunuk, Amaru. Today they're joined by Alethea Barrow. She did Angry Inuk recently. And myself, As Marusha mentioned, this collective has been very successful in presenting the perspective of Inuit women, showing their side of the story, letting their voices be heard, and in a very unique manner. They're fearless. They are using Western technology, but the media and their messaging is very tradition-based, culture-based, but the stories are universal. And their style, in comparison to Western documentaries and films, the pace is often considered slow. And I was talking to Marie-Helene about this, and the query is, why does everything just go so much slower than you would see in a Western type of production? And she feels that has to do with the environment. For one example, even the seasons. When you have an environment where you might have 3 months of sunlight, 3 months of darkness, I mean, you view time differently. Even in terms of light, you didn't put a switch on. You had to get your blubber. You had to prepare your, it's a series of processes that is more time consuming. So you acquire a patience that you might not see in a fast-paced civilization, in Toronto, for example. So this is one aspect of how their productions differ from what you might see in mainstream Canadian cinema today. With regard to the documentary you're about to view, this was Susan Avingaq's creation. It was an event that traumatized an entire village, the village of Igloolik. A young man, Solomon Uyarasuk, had died while in police custody in Igloolik. They are, to be precise, in RCMP custody in 2012. There were numerous questions as regards to what had happened in that cell. Was it a suicide? Why weren't the family allowed to view the body? Why were the two staff members leaving the community the day after this young man died? And Susan wanted to delve into this further. What has happened here? Can we ever understand? And the death of our young people is a common occurrence, not just in Nunavut, across Canada's Arctic, across Indigenous communities. So they did not want this just to be looking at the death of one talented, creative young individual. They wanted to see how can we even address this issue in this manner? So you will get a viewpoint or see the world through Susan's eyes as she is attempting to answer these questions, not just for herself, but for the people of Igloolik and for Nunavut. And without further ado, I guess I will let you view this movie. Saw by Marie-Helene Cousineau, Susan Avingaq of Arnait Video Productions in Igloolik.
So now, any questions?
Yeah. It's kind of a question for, I guess, for whoever can kind of speak to it. I guess I wonder if when you set out to make the film, and when the film started, you were setting out to kind of find out the truth about Solomon's death. But by the time you reach the end of it, it's not so clear as to whether or not that was necessarily the biggest thing. Kind of the bigger takeaway was that you were getting to talk about suicide. So I guess I wonder, are they still there? Oh, there we go.
Okay, I'll pass it down to Susan and put it in the window. Susan.
Okay, so
Hi.
Maybe you can turn on the light, Micheline.
My light bulb busted, so we have no light.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I guess your question was, was the idea to have an investigation into his death and what happened?
or was the point to just get us to start talking about suicide in the North, I guess? Or is it both?
Well, I can answer that. Maybe I think at first the idea was to try to find out what happened in the case of Solomon because, I was in Montreal. I was in Montreal when that happened, and Susan was in Igloolik, and I heard that through Facebook, through her daughter, that Susan was really troubled and that she started to ask herself questions and that the community was asking questions, maybe he was killed in the cell and they wanted to, they felt that they were not going to find out what happened and they didn't understand what the police action was, like the fact that everybody left 2 days after or the day after, and in the first 3-4 days, people were really troubled about the lack of communication. So Susan was shocked at how the family was treated, and we decided to follow the story to try to find out what happened. And soon enough, obviously, we realized that we were not going to be able to find out what happened, for all kinds of reasons, systemic reasons and reasons that are obvious in some ways, and also because there was an investigation, a police investigation, and a coroner investigation. So for about a year and a half, nobody wanted to talk to us from the government. And so it became a film about, I guess, letting people talk about suicide publicly, because this is it's a subject that people don't talk about really publicly. It wasn't. People, it was too painful. And to start, I guess, or to be part of a process where people are sharing so that solutions, can be brought up. So maybe Blandina, you can ask what, why
That's what just about to ask her. Susan, aperiyo kasama kanu magurtan na sa naraw pisiw dan nakawi sa kasuklugo Solomon imini ninganing overonin Tana tukisi na raw ngeman ino yun ne rotigiyanga. Tana piju tigilo aksugu tana sana yumarapyo overonin imini kataktunin tukisi titinaksaw yumadluti kano pigero na kaslak makayang mata. Teman na aperiya kasama.
Tema parang nagsibungan. Sibundang may ukamayakat lang sugo. Kaya nasalamat sulito ko lang at ito ko. Ako kito nilso ka. Imini katakto naraw tikutin nakatakto pindungit. Okamaya katraw tugo kano takiyaw tikod. Takiyaw siyong na kanin nasaw na yung mga.
Tanaw ka laglagway. Initially, before Solomon even took his life, I was in Greenland, and we were having discussions and also hearing on the radio as to how we could become more active in preventing these types of incidents of suicide. Ati.
Man no tidlugo imine katak tunay takiyaw siyo kayang mga okamaya katak tidlugo na makakyaw si mang masara man imine tidlugo.
At this point in time, when we were seriously discussing how we can address this issue, this very tragic issue that is affecting us in our communities, how can we film this? How can we present it? What can we do to discuss this seemingly taboo subject? And when we were in the midst of these discussions, Solomon's life was gone.
Tema.
Hey.
Tamang may kaya ko atak patiligaw rin tamang may pijitigilaw tabo imine katak tulog. Imine katak ang ininginik. Takwaro salamaw ilangit tukisilaw ng mata imine ang mga doni tana ilagilok suni. Takwa naglinakwaro raw matisara mau ilangit takwa takilali utigit kanililaw tabon.
To address the question that was in two parts. Firstly, of course, yes, it was to look into the situation of Solomon. Secondly, it was also to look at addressing suicide in general. And thirdly, because Solomon's relatives were unsettled, they were questions unanswered, and we wanted to have a better in-depth examination into what the actual facts were. Tema. So does that answer?
May I ask a question? The suicides in the North are very complex, multifactorial. I'd like to ask a question. If you were moving forward, I want to emphasize moving forward, what 2 or 3 things can the community in Igloolik do to prevent recurrences of the death of these young people?
Susan tana ang apering mayon sivo mo takun nakasukutta overon kayo sinasukutta ataw sa meloni makong niloni kisuni takuga ako nakayak patay kayo ko tigi yun naktatinning iman na sivo nexamon taw tuga suglini taman na nang imini kataktu mixano.
Ano kaya nga, kaya magtatakaroon lungaw ng bigama. Kaya mangiloang ni kumod, kanuhin minakatang mga ata, atas sukat raw tugukit ko din na tao makadaw mayo atas sukat suta. Tamag ko, Inuit, kikutin na apat sa katasutigo. Kaya judik sa dagdami, kisimusiwo mo, iminatay di judik sa mita ko na lalag sa tuning, kisimu, away matatangin migama, apat kanog kanikiyangay.
She's answering, Susan is answering your query. Because it's complex and because she herself is not an expert in this area, she wanted to ask as many people as she possibly could to try to get answers for herself. And after the end of this process of asking this question to various professionals, to various people involved in this field. Actually, according to herself, she has not found a magic answer that she can give you in one or two advice type answers, is what she says.
Ila isa magayan niyo karon na ato nga makwa isa magikatak ka inminge utaw ro akata sa bidwin tan nanot ta mo ngiman inminge no ilo ang video ko timini o kada katang ilo ak luting amalo tamakwa ngayon ato ato nga medyo tama nga inmini ako makatang ng mini sara diyaw nakatak ko yung mata kawali matitikan na ko yung ito nga simunik sa mi tama ko na nga Inuit ako tao Inuit nila ko tao yun nakinig nakatangin na sa titina subluta iman na kay tako na sa yun nakayak ko tano isa magsiyo kaya ka o ka.
Although she has not found a secret or magic solution to these questions, in her own opinion, she is saying that perhaps within this complexity, there are at the very, very basic level, there are communication issues. Are you facing depression due to whatever variety of factors that are affecting these communities? It is important to be able to communicate these feelings if you can seek help. And she feels that in this day and age, the availability and abuse, substance abuse, might tip people over the edge, whereas they could have perhaps not gone to that level if they had not, say, being abusing copious amounts of whatever drug of their choice. And because has been pondering these issues, she thinks that in future, and to look towards the future, it is our duty to educate the ones that are coming along. Education is key when you're trying to address complex issues such as this. Tama ka eh. Apakaya ka kanam namin.
Thank you for your film.
Kuya Nami?
It's actually a very simple question, and it, I think, is maybe a little late in the conversation, but I wanted to know how Saul's family is doing, and I wanted to know how the community is doing.
Tanago apekuti nga pibig juangong itsugarota na ang nakuruktaw apering man narigo tapate ilang ikanwilakpan amaro nunak katingin ta sumunga aktok tao si mayo kanwilak pa man now yumi.
Kaya nami pibigay mo rinita ka na pibig tanapir ko katitya baro. Mana tayo na inaura mo rito atuat ukad daw ti si marang magigo pero sumit karo kayo si tinaro sa ko yun niya sa nilitay na ro umadyayin niya sa ni isimatya sa katakot sa niligo ukad daw ta katang magig mana kami nakataw yun ko ilang ito ko katak ka.
First of all, Atwat is the older lady that you saw in the film and at the end. And Atwat has been continuing as the elder within this family circle. She has continued to support and to have discussions with the immediate family. And to try to begin the healing process, which is ongoing today. And as much as she said in the film that at this point in time, we will not bring Solomon back, but we can bring closure to our own emotions and closure, although we might not have felt there was absolute closure with the inquest, there is still closure within our family that we have accepted that he's not coming back, and we move forward and we help each other and we support each other from the family. Takwari nunaring nutana apere sa aming ma kano ikayong nakakpa ilagig tunun ama igluring miun.
Tana kiko ilang ite si matakatya sa mo kaya katulaw mata ko yan yung Tana adiliw na pilaw ng pasokotiliw ng naksaw na yalaw kasi bing mata. Sokotiliw tiya o tilidunid yung adiliw na upagpagsutigo. Takwa ilangi kuya na katang mata. Igdurin mo lutaw. Eman na. Akaw sa nito alam may nilyaw may kay si mamiksano. Ito saksa nyo karaw si mangit. Ito kami ako yun yun.
Susan feels that with this film that the entire community of Igloolik had a chance to look at the issues in more detail. That as a community they have being thankful for being able to share because it's a small community. When you speak to one person, you are in fact speaking to more than one person. She has been very thankful for the positive support. And she said as a result of this film as well, that there has not been any negativity in terms of words or actions. And it's been a healing process, not just for the immediate family, but for the entire community.
It was very scary to make this film for me, and I think for Susan also at first, but I have to say that as a co-directing adventure, this was very powerful. Susan made everything possible in Igloolik, made people talk, made people open up, made people share their emotions. And the fact that she is an elder really made people listen. And I think it's not just in Igloolik that it had an impact, because the film was also shown in other communities in Nunavut. And I think it was really, it did impact people, and people felt more free to talk about this terrible issue. Many issues, being, suicide or justice or police violence, injustice, legal system. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's changing the institution or, the way people are doing things. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But talking, I think it's made people talk. It's not so easy sometimes.
Hi, I just want to thank you for putting this event on, first of all. And thank you for being on Skype as well. I guess my one question is more about policy and how the inquiry kind of dealt with after the inquiry. Like, did you see a change in RCMP behavior dealing with the community? And did it even make a difference?
Sibudlak pa me kuyan na may tasuming atakuan na kung nakawata. Amado Skype ko na kasi kuya rivasi. Apereyokle Tana sakitilaortillusiu tamakua surlu piquyariusun apersurtiuroortun akaunersauriqpa taakkua pariisikkupittiaqattarnersauriqpaa asitjeqpaa uvvaruniisoqusingila.
Tana kauyigittiartara pittiangittuni upaksisimavangittiarsunga pariisiniglu kanuiliortuni upaksisimavangittiarsunga amma oqqarpiuvangittunga kanuiliortoqarlukkaluarneraangat kauyaqattangittiarama taanna kiyunnangitara.
And how about you, Marie-Helene? Can you answer that question?
No, not really, because, well, I mean, I'm not in Igloolik, and I'm not living in Nunavut for the last few years, so I'm not sure. But from what I personally think that, I mean, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, some recommendations were made, I mean, from the coroner, as you see at the end in the film, where they act upon, I am not sure. I mean, the Nunavut government last year decided to go ahead with a strategy against suicide, and they hire someone to work and to follow some recommendations that were made by a group of experts, on suicide prevention. So there was that. I don't know. I mean, last year we lost someone from another film we made. We made a fiction film called Blandina, and there was the main actor. One of the main actors was from Cousineau, and he committed suicide. He was 18 years old. And last weekend, Blandina and I were in Cousineau. We met with his father, and last year, there were 5 young kids from between 18 and 22 who committed suicide in Cousineau in about 2 months. And I am not sure. I'm not sure.
I will just tell you quickly.
I mean, I'm sorry. I wish I had things to say, like, we know what to do, and it's just, I mean, things can be made better, of course, because there are, some people would be furious to hear me talking like this, like jackates or people like this. They would say, no, Quebec was able to curb down, the suicide, and yes, of course, there are things to do. It takes a will to do those things. I mean, I'm not sure, it takes a federal money and government to help push, bring money and to support the Nunavut government. And Nathan Obed is now, who is interviewed in the film, he's now the president of IPK, a big Inuit organization, and suicide prevention is so important for him, and he's really talking about it, and he's going to make a difference. He's going to help. So, yeah, I think positive things are done.
Yeah, sorry, Susan had just...
For the police, I'm not sure.
Sorry, Marie-Helene, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I mean, the police, I'm not sure.
Susan had just mentioned that as of now at the local village level, that she hadn't seen any increase or policy changes from justice or the policing system. And Marie-Helene just mentioned Nathan Obed, who is now the president of our political organization in Canada. You see him here. He's the well-spoken man with the short hair, and his little boy is going off to school. So now, so suicide prevention / policy is one of his very important agenda items at the moment. And he is in Ottawa. How successful he will be in accessing monies and political will, we will see that in future or.
But it's certainly good that he is there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the film. I couldn't help notice something within the film. Solomon said and referred to it several times that he doesn't know who he is as a person. And since he referred to this, I think it was twice, maybe 3 times within the film, I wanted to ask, because I was wondering if either of you have either opinions on what he meant by this, and if you feel that the statement of not knowing his own identity was a large contributing factor for the abundance of suicides that were happening in Nunavut, if you think this played a role in not only his, but maybe other people's as well.
Tagayarlunigo Ujirikawami Pingasurlunikai Tanat Solomon Uqarsimang Makinao ng Meninaro Naraksuni, Kinawa Rapunga, Sunawa Rapunga, and Narurio Kasimakui Lunigo Teman na Pingasurluni, Taisimang Mata Amaro. Tanakaitava Atorotawiva Nang Mina Kataktunin. Solomon asego makuktuno asego iman na kaya asiusi magamite man na pekatapod.
Dia kai ingo tu inna ya kai kai mangita
Marie-Helene. Susan herself is not clear as to if this lack of identity and lack of knowing who you are, she's really not sure if that plays a role in the situation today, and perhaps Marie-Helene can answer better than herself.
No, I can't. But I mean, in the film, I think a lot of people are talking about that. Certainly, Brian, who's singing, and Kelly Fraser, who's the 2 young people. You know, I think their voices are very important in the film because that's what they talk about. They talk about identity, and they talk about the difficulty to know your place in a society that you don't really, understand, or that it's that is changing, and why. I think Brian is. His voice is pretty clear, and, I would say that it speaks for, a lot of young people. And, I totally, I think he says, what I think, too, when I look at the situation. So when he says, the kids are wondering, what they are, not for their grandparents, but also for their children and where they're going. Solomon was a very smart person, very artistic, and full of emotion. And of course, you know, we had all those questions, but yeah, I think it does. I think it, you know, I mean, I'm like Susan, I don't want to say, yeah, that's why, you know, I don't think you can go like this. There is not one single reason like this that you can pinpoint, but that's certainly part of the problematic.
This is a question as a filmmaker who also documents her own community and trauma. So I just couldn't help but ask the question, how do you, as filmmakers, as caretakers of people's histories, how do you take care of yourself and how do you continue to do the work that you do? Because in watching other people's trauma, it invariably hits you too.
Tanata Amerikanerto adiliortiu Lucy tamakuninga aksonak tuning imanaruni anang tuning sanavaklusi amaro ikayorasun sinnarlusilu inuqatissinning teemarita qiausiortiullusi qanorli sangineqarpakpisi kayusiinnarasuklusi tamakkuninga.
Action naktuaro katarapto, action naktuaro katarapto ala pineri saksune. Kakwa action to a person nerso video ekak tanero ekakto nerso wakisa uti jangan kemana action ala takusiane. Ikayo kaso meeting kawite katakatigo action naktuaro katakatigo.
In Susan's case, yes, and thank you for that question. It is very difficult emotionally. It's a hard journey to do these types of interviews, especially with people who are affected by these tragedies or by events that are extremely hurtful and perhaps even emotionally damaging. However, what gives us strength to continue is that not only are we helping ourselves, we're hopefully helping these people and those around them. And of course, in her view, it's always there is something good going to come out of this. I have to keep strong to help continue this path and to continue to educate through film.
Tan may lang kayimat na kaya tituwin imining mga klone kayimat na kituan ro mata takwa ilabi yan kasi ani kayit na lawit tugaran kasi ani ikayok tao na sumnang may kayimat ya katarapto kayingin na rakto imining mga klone ito kasi ngin na rakto garan ikayok tao na suk kami taman na uwatin nito apat sakti garak sa ato sa karamiyak.
The reason, especially for this particular documentary, was there were a lot of questions people wanted to understand. They wanted to ask, who could they ask? So in this case, it was through this film, through our inquiries into the inquiry, that perhaps some issues were addressed. All the questions were not answered. Obviously, in the end, some people don't even feel that there was any answers given. However, this whole journey as within the family, as filmmakers, and within our community, it has been a process that has been meaningful. It has been helpful. It has provided some closure, not all, but in the end, I feel that we're better for going through this process together. That's just.
I think, can you hear me?
Eh,
Okay, it keeps and I think the fact that we work together really helped. This was not a film that we did as a first project. We've been working to 22 years. So, yeah, it was not a first project. It was something that was, what? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can't see you very well, but we can hear you.
Okay, because my cat, no, it's okay, because it keeps rolling. So, yeah, so it's something that we do in teams. That's really helpful. And in my case, I guess I take some distance also. I do other things in between those kind of films. But it does, it is difficult, but, you know, basically difficult everywhere on the planet right now. I mean, I don't know, everywhere I live maybe.
Well, it seems that we've lost Susan. So I think this is a good time to.
I mean, there.
I think this is a good time to end. Thank you so much, Marie-Helene, Blandina, and Susan for this amazing discussion and for your amazing film. As I mentioned, this will be available. You can tell others that this will be available on podcast for people to see and share. And thank you very much for coming.
Well, thank you for coming.